very casual, very laid back.
So goddamn arrogant about their PCs.
Welcome to another episode of Dfr3ak and Geeks, the unedited and unfiltered gaming podcast that now reviews games that came out in 2017, so get prepared.
Welcome to the information age.
Yeah, we're a little behind on this one, but I'm your host, David, aka Dfr3ak.
And I'm Pat, aka Bloodbath 17.
Matty is at work.
Matty?
Yeah,
Matty's cooking steaks at work on the barbie.
Yeah, so he's not going to be on this one, but it's not often that I complete a full game. I'm kind of ADHD gaming, and I just finished Divinity Original Sin 2, the definitive edition, and I think Pat can acclaim to this that he hasn't seen me be obsessed with a game like this probably ever.
You're so annoying about it. Because, like, every 10 seconds, you'd be like, oh, boys, I'm in for a big fight. And then, like, 2 hours later, you'd be like, all right, boys, I did it. And we're like, what are you talking about? Oh, like 2 hours ago when you said you were in for one? Got it.
Yeah, so this game is the best way that I could describe it to people that don't really know what it is it's like a very D&D style game. So, technically, it's an RPG game that is turn-based and can be cooperative. So that's like the official title of it. But the way that it works is you pick a character, and, you know, with like D&D games or, you know, any of these hardcore RPG games, character creation means a lot depending on what race you are and what do they call it? Like, I almost said mode. But, like, what
class.
kind of player what class you are, so, like, barbarian. It has all of the basics, right? So,
right.
Again, I've never played these types of games, and I was like, screw it. It's been in my library forever. It has, like, incredible reviews. I mean, on Steam, it is overwhelmingly positive with 140,000 reviews.
Wow. Holy shit.
So, I was like, all right, time to give it a shot. So, the basis of the game is as such. You are someone who is source infused, which means you can form magic, essentially. And there are these groups of people called magisters who don't like magic. So they put everybody that's magic infused or source infused in a prison. So when you start the game, you are on a boat on your way to prison. And I'm not going to give away a lot about the story, but I think the baseline of it is going to be important.
That's important.
Right? So you have these collars on that when you have the collar on, you can't do any magic, right? So it sucks to start the game as a magic character, which isn't, like, cool because there's a lot of replayability. Like, I've actually thought about playing it again.
No.
Because, like, I want to play it as somebody who focuses on magic, and I kind of want to do a solo run of it, which is going to be really hard. But so as
with no
companions, nothing, right?
Man.
So I've seen somebody do it, and I don't know how it's fun. I could barely do it with 4 people.
I'll see you in 5 years.
So you go through the prison, and then you find out the biggest part of the story is that you find out that you are what is called a God-woken, which, if you think about it, divinity, God, it's all about gods, right? So you're a God-woken, so you're essentially the chosen one. And if you choose to have people in your party, which there are like 5 or 6, I would say, main characters that you can have join your party, but you're only allowed to have 3 of them. So again, replayability. You can play with different characters, and they can be chosen to be different classes no matter what their real class is. So, like, there was one dude who was obviously a fighter, and I already had 2 fighters, so I made him a healer. Didn't really affect any of his stats or anything, but I regretted it because I didn't really play like his dialogue, right? His dialogue would be like, fuck yeah, let's go. And it's like, dude, you sit in the back and heal everybody all the time. Like, you're not really doing anything. So
you're doing nothing.
You're a God-woken, and it's the story is your progression into the God-woken stratosphere, right? And how to source is going to be like on the ground, or you can take source from people, essentially just being able to enhance your magic. But the game overall, and kind of what I wanted to talk about and why it was so good, was one, the dialogue is insane. I mean, I'm not one who skips dialogue often. I had to skip a lot. I mean, you could probably sit there for, how many hours do I have in this game? 100 and my library's not loading. I think I have like 106 hours, and I probably skipped like 20% of the dialogue.
Wow.
Right? So the dialogue is like super intense, super in depth, which is good because it tells the story really well. Right? It plays a really good role in who your character is and like what their background is. So if you are, let's say, I was a mystic elf, right? That was a ranger. So I had a bow and arrow and I was technically mystic. So a lot of the dialogue would be you have an elf option or you have a mystic option that changes the dialogue.
Gotcha.
But if I was the Red Prince and I went up to another lizard character, they would be like, oh shit, the Red Prince, like, what's up? Like, it would totally change all of the dialogue because he's the Red Prince.
Which means that is preloaded dialogue on this game.
Yeah, based on
for all the
character.
different possibilities.
Yep.
That's wild.
So go ahead.
Is this kind of, this dialogue you're talking about, is this kind of stuff that you could skip, you think, if you played Original Sin 1? Divinity Original Sin 1?
I don't know. That's I've actually been thinking about taking a look at that game because of how good this one was and how the story was told really well. And it almost seemed like it was its own separate game. Like, I'm not
weird.
sure how Divinity 1 kind of plays into it. I didn't feel lost at all in it.
Okay.
Like, I didn't, like, almost like, you know what's, here we go again. But you know what kind of does that? The Witcher does that. Like, The Witcher, there's a whole part that if you didn't play The Witcher 2, you really don't, like, you kind of have to make up what goes on.
Gotcha.
But this starts off as, like, a fresh, new thing.
Gotcha. So that it explains the whole world, the whole not background, but kind of the background and how the classes work, kind of.
Yeah, like what the Magisters are and why they hate magic and who, like, Dahlia is. She's, like, trying to take over the source. And, you know, there's a big battle between, do we want gods anymore? Or do we not want gods anymore? So it's kind of like a religious thought process, right? Like, do you want to give the magic back to the gods, or do you want to evenly disperse the magic to the people?
Right.
Which is at the end of what I did. But wait till we get to the end, dude, because it was the ending was like, where were we going? We were going to some like bar or whatever, and I literally just beat the game. Oh, we were going to a dinner, and I just beat the game, and I go to Kendall, and
in real life, you're going to a dinner.
In real life, I'm going to a dinner, and I go, oh, fuck yeah, I just beat the game. I go, oh, no worries. I'm just going to, like, you know, the cutscene's going to come up. It's going to be like, congratulations, you beat the game. Here's everybody that worked on the game. It was like a full 25 minutes before the game ended.
Yeah, I remember this.
It was crazy. So, but I'll get into that when we get more towards the end of the game. So, as somebody who's never played this type of game, I cannot recommend this type of game more. I think you have to be really into it, but it is so much fun. I now know why people were obsessed with Final Fantasy. About, like, this turn-based combat. So do you know Final Fantasy, how it was, like, turn-based for, like, each character?
Yeah.
So this is, like, Final Fantasy, but instead of it being, like, your guys are lined up here and their guys are lined up here and everybody gets a shot at each other,
you can kind of set it up differently.
This is like a open world combat. So you're walking around and then all of a sudden you go towards an enemy and it's like fight started. And you get into your fight position and they get into their fight position. And then you have to use the environment to your advantage. That's
cool as fuck.
So, like, if you're a ranger and there is a platform, you want to get on that platform because then you have height advantage and you get like a 45% damage increase.
Oh, it's like that.
Yeah, so it's like, and then you want to make sure your tank is front and center because they can take the most damage, right? So it's all of that. But what I thought was really cool about it is, as you know, I was struggling a lot in the beginning with the combat. I was just getting crushed.
Yeah, and you'd win like once or twice, so you're like, all right, what did I do there?
So what I found out, and when I started actually winning, was that beginning combat is just as important as the actual combat. So like when you're walking up on there was this one where like there were two cliffs and I was walking in between the cliffs and there were these dwarves on the top of the cliffs and they initiate the combat. You don't even know they're there. It's just like you walked in the wrong spot, motherfucker. Like, good luck.
Right.
And I died every time. Like there was just no shot in winning it. So you had to like reload, find out where they were coming from, position yourself in the right way to be in an advantageous position, spread out your group so that the person who needs to be in what position is where, and then initiate the combat.
Oh, shit.
So it like really plays a number on your mind. Like it's really analytical, I guess I would say. Like it's very thought process
strategic.
Based. Yeah, it's very strategic. I would play a fight where, like, I couldn't win, and then I'd move one guy, like, 2 blocks over to be more out of the way of the fire, and I would win it no problem.
Wow. And by the end of the game, did you understand why stuff like that was happening?
Yes.
Like why you move 2 blocks to the right?
Yes, because it's just, like, you start to understand, like, you're at a serious disadvantage. They make the computer, the AI, like, whatever you want to call it, they make them so overpowered. It's just like, I can walk 4 spots, and they can walk 12 and hit me, and I walk 4 and I can't hit. Right. Like, they have so many action points that, like, it's just, you have to play in a certain way. But I like this game for me, especially with the combat, like I was telling you, this has like seriously opened up a whole new world of gaming for me. I think I like how you have to think. I like how they really force thought into what you're doing, who you're using, and how you're using them. You know, like a healer can be a healer, but then they also have to fight. And then your tank, you have to play your tank as a tank. You can't be like, oh, this is the fight where I'm going to leave my tank off to the back, and then I'm going to throw a shield, and like he's going to do a ton of damage. It's like, you're going to get roasted, dude. I don't really know what to tell you, right? It's just... So, combat, awesome. Incredible. Probably, if not one of the best combats of any video game I've ever played. Like, it completely redefined what a good game means to me, especially with combat.
In what way was it the best? Like, there was just so much going on, so many different ways you could play it, so many different factors you had to keep in mind.
So it's almost like what I realized about this game, what it really opened my mind up to was like, you're playing Watch Dogs, right? I play The Witcher. Yeah. Matt plays whatever indie game he's playing. A lot of the times at the end of the day, games, be it with sword or with gun, have become very run and gun.
Yes.
Right? It's just like, I'm going to bust in here, I'm going to shoot every motherfucker down, I'm going to run out of here, and let's get on to the next mission, right? And you kind of lose, like, the whole... And I don't really even remember when this was, but, like, when games were, like, fun but, like, really thought-provoking, or, like, you really felt accomplished when you finished a fight. Like, let's go back to the Super Mario days. When you, like, beat a castle, you probably went through it 5 or 6 times. You died at the same spot because you jumped wrong or whatever. But you felt accomplished.
Right.
Right? And, like, in this game, there were fights that... And, again, people that are listening can tell me that I suck at video games. I don't really care. Because there are some fights, especially early game, that took me, like, 4 hours to beat.
Right.
Like, it was
because
wild.
of the strategy involved.
Because I'm so used to running and gunning. I'm so used to being like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to send this dude in. And for the longest time, I played as a lone wolf, which, like, I didn't know any different because in every other game, I could just be myself and just run through everybody. And then I actually had to go back and build a party at a later time because I was like, there's no way. So it really brought back that sense of accomplishment. Like, when I got something done, I felt like I did it. It was the moves that I made. It took a lot of thinking. It took a lot of strategy, and I completed it.
Right.
And I think that it's been lost. And you don't realize it's been lost until you find a game where it kind of brings it back.
Right. And at the end of the day, everything kind of seems like it made sense. Like,
yeah, for sure. Like, strategy-wise?
Your progression, how you're winning battles, why you were losing before, and how you got through it.
Perfect example would be, like, I was just an idiot, and, like, I didn't jump my ranger up to a higher level, so I didn't get the high damage. Right. It's like, sometimes that's all I didn't do. And it was like, once I did that, it was like, all right, 1, he's going to stay alive, because he's not going to be near anybody. 2, I get more damage. 3, if someone dies, I can resurrect them by me, and I can heal them. Right? So it was like, all right, we got to start thinking a little differently here. And it's just, I thought it was awesome. And I think that the new game I'm playing, which we'll probably have another review on it, because now that I'm obsessed with this type of game, does the same thing. It's not as good. I kind of fucked myself with this game, dude, and we'll get into that.
Yeah, you started off with the S tier.
So, dude, after this game, I was like, little tangent here, but after this game, I was like, oh my god, I fucking love this game. Let's find a bajillion games like this. What are the best turn-based strategy games? RPGs. I did the whole thing. Number 1, Divinity Original Sin 2. Number 1, Divinity Original Sin 2. It was like, no wonder it was so good, right? So, that was Combat. Combat was, just absolutely amazing. It blew me away. The story was good. It was really good. You really have to pay attention.
Right.
Like, throughout the whole thing. There was a lot going on. Everybody had their own backstory, and their backstory led to different missions. And with this game, if you made if you made a dialogue option and you didn't like that and you didn't save, you're fucked.
You're stuck.
It's just like
you're either going through the last hour again so you can choose the one dialogue option, or you go with it.
Very, very much probably the most choices matter game I've ever played.
Wow. Because
it not only had to do with the story. So, like, you'd be talking to someone, and then, like, you'd look at your log, and you'd fail, like, 3 missions. And you were like, what? That doesn't even make any sense. Because the dialogue you just had. Or you could go up to somebody, and you could just straight up be like, I don't like your face. Kill him? Right? Because you could kill anybody in that game. There's no holds bar. So, main characters, companions, people on the side of the road, they all have health and shield and magic armor that if you wanted to just go rogue, you could just kill whoever you wanted. There was one mission where I needed to help the Magisters, and then as the game progressed, I was like, fuck the Magisters, I hate them. So I went into their barracks, I just killed every single one of them. I killed every single one of them, and it was like, you just completed 4 missions, because it'll be like, this guy's now dead, go find his chest.
Oh, wow.
Like, I was trying to help him, and it was like, you killed him, so, like, I guess mission completed.
Oh, wow.
Right? So everything has something to do with everything. How you do the dialogue can also affect how you start a fight. So do you want to, like, get along with them, sneak around the back and get, like, an advantage on them? Or you can be like, hey, fuck you, and they'd be like, fuck you. And then
all out brawl.
And then they get first shot.
Gotcha.
And
that's cool.
Yeah, it takes you like a really long time to figure that out. So you're like at a disadvantage for a long time.
Until you figure
it out, right? So the story was good. It got better. It's almost like they really played it. Unless I missed everything. I could have just missed everything in the beginning and not realized it. But it started to make a lot more sense, and the story just kind of flew from there. It was awesome. 3, and something that I wouldn't imagine in this type of game, puzzles. Like, crazy puzzles.
I'm learning while playing Watch Dogs 2 how much I fucking love puzzles in games. Like, Watch Dogs is a little disappointing with the puzzles because I think they could be more in depth. It's like one type of puzzle, and it just depends on how complicated it's going to be. But when games have multiple different types of puzzles, and it's like you're looking at like a stone, 3 symbols of 3 different stone symbols on the wall, and you're like, what the fuck does a bird, a snake, and a whale have to do with this?
And I love when they don't tell you what it is.
Yeah, and you need to fuck around and figure it out.
Too many games were like, this is a puzzle. Here's how you complete it. Like Hogwarts did that. Where it was like, there were puzzles. Remember how we were excited about the puzzles?
Yeah.
The first puzzle you come across, like the first time you come across it tells you how to complete it.
Dumb.
And then they're the same puzzles. This one, it was like, you'd walk up to something and it'd be like, new journal updated. And it'd be like, I just walked past the puzzle. And the description of the puzzle would be like, the trial of fire. You walk past 4, what are they called? Things that light on fire. They're like on stakes. Like tiki torches almost, but they're not tiki torches, right? It would be like, you walked past 4...
What are those called?
You know what I'm talking about?
Have a name? Yeah.
It's like a metal rod.
Let's just say tiki torches.
It has a metal rod. It has a circle on top of it with rocks in it, and you light it on fire. Yeah, we're idiots.
What, the lighting of the fire at the Olympic? What is that called?
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm thinking of.
I know you're... Yeah, all right.
So, like, it was like trial of fire. You walked past 4 tiki torches, but they don't stay lit when you try to light them. I wonder what that means. And then it's like...
all right. Okay. I need to do something with 4 torches.
And I gotta figure out how to light them at the same time, I think.
Yeah, you didn't even know how you complete it. Like, you don't know if it's the right order. You try the second one, it stays lit. Then you try the 4th, and they both go out. You're like, all right, second one's right. Then you don't even know.
And then there was one where it was like this symbol on the ground. My journal didn't update. Nothing happened. It was just a symbol on the ground. And I looked it up, and it was like, you need to find, like, the ear of a wolf, and you need to light it on fire, and you need to cut your hand and put blood on it, and then put that on the symbol, and a chest will appear.
How would you have ever known to do that?
I have no idea. But, like, I thought it was cool. I thought it kind of is crazy, like, how much this brings back nostalgic gaming. Because back in the day... like with these Super Nintendo games, mostly, it's like if you didn't know what you were doing or you died or whatever, you always restarted, right? And it was like, you had to go to the store and buy a handbook to like figure out how to cut through.
I remember those.
Right, and they would tell you like the cheats and how to cut through different levels. And like Mario, you can go on top if you jump up certain things, right? So
right.
It's like you forget how many like hidden things that you couldn't find in games were. And it was like, I caught myself looking up half the shit because it was almost like my video game puzzle memory was lost and I just didn't know what to do anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I get that. They're never easy. Like, games that have good puzzles in them, they're never easy. Ever. No. I always have to end up looking them up, and I find myself wondering, the first person who figured it out...
Do you hate yourself when you look it up? I felt bad every time.
A little.
Not hate yourself, but it's like, why couldn't I figure that out? Because you're always like on the tip of the iceberg.
Well, because it would take like 15 hours.
And you're always on the tip of the iceberg. You're always like, I know what to do, I just don't know how to do it. And there were puzzles.
There was one puzzle in Watch Dogs 2, and it's the same type of puzzle that's all throughout the game, but this one was particularly hard because it was set up by like a high-level hacker. And I did it for like 5 minutes, and I was about to look it up, and I need to find a new game. Like, I can't get out of this room. I'm done.
You were stuck?
Watch Dogs 2 is done. No, I figured it out, but I did it on my own, and it was like, oh, holy shit. I don't know what I did differently this time. Yeah. big time with
Right,
this
so-
one. Because I said it's on stream. I was like, this is impossible. I'm stuck. I need to look this up. I'm done. Like, I'm done with this. Got time to go back to COD or get MLB The Show 23 or something. I'm done.
I think it's amazing how the times that we were in makes everybody have ADHD, where it's like, we don't have time to figure anything out. It's like, we're stuck, we're done. And it's just like, that's everything that I'm going to say about this game is it comes back to a sense of accomplishment. You felt the sense of accomplishment over everything that you've done. And you had to be okay with the decisions you made. Right? So to me, it was like the whole time I was playing it, I was like, oh, when I play this game again, like maybe next time I'll be on the Magister side. Right? And I'll say, like, fuck the dwarves, because the dwarves and the Magisters were having like a big battle.
Gotcha.
So, like, kind of, I guess, moving on, it was also really interesting the way that they had the layout of the game. So you have, like, your first map, which is the ship. And then you have the second map, which is the island that the prison is on. And then you escape from there, and then you get to the big map, which is called the main map. So this game was broken out into 5 acts. And each map was its own act. The interesting thing was that once you left the map, that's it. You're never going back.
Gotcha.
So, like, I didn't realize that until I was too far, and I was leaving the second map, and I wanted to do, like, this whole story arc, and I wanted to find out all of these things. But you just kind of want to move on sometimes, and now I wish I would have completed everything. Yeah. But once you move on, right? So no matter what you did, there's no going back. There's no opening that chest. There's no doing anything.
Right.
So
I can tell this game is kind of sticking in your head.
What do you mean?
You want to play it again so bad. I can see it. I can see
it
in your eyes.
Games. Yeah, I have to play other games. But, like, okay, so the maps were cool. I would say that they weren't the best thing about the game, which is okay. I don't think it took away from the game. It's just that if I was talking about it, I wouldn't be like, yo, the maps were fucking, like, top tier. They were cool.
Well, it's kind of bad if the map is the number one thing about your, like, but the story is shit, the dialogue is shit, the cutscenes are shit. I always bring up
maps because people always seem to care about the maps, right? It's like a thing that people really care about. Like, if you look at, like, Grand Theft Auto versus Skyrim.
Oh, I think you think people care way more than they do because it's Call of Duty just fucking dominates the airwaves right now. And it's just all people bitching about different things, and a lot of the time it's maps.
Agreed.
It's like, all right, play a different fucking game then. It's so easy.
So the maps were okay. The maps did their job. Let's put it that way. They did their job. They made a good environment for battles and the story and everything. It just wasn't like a memorable. I'll always remember the Skyrim map versus. I'll never put this as an S tier map.
Gotcha.
What I will put as S tier, and again, this plays into, I guess, the type of game it is. And a lot of this I'm going to say because I've never played a game like this before, because it is true. Because a lot of the games, like as we're talking about, Watch Dogs is very similar to Grand Theft Auto. It just is what it is. When you're looking at like inventory and guns and cars, and they kind of play the same, and they kind of are the same. They might be
graphics are pretty similar, and
right? They might be
are pretty similar.
A little different. The story's a little different, but
it's like Assassin's Creed plus Grand Theft Auto plus hacking.
Fallout is the same as, Far Cry, but it's just like a different aesthetic.
Right.
This game, the inventory system and the leveling up system is intense.
Okay.
Like, if you're not paying attention to what you're updating, you can fuck yourself more than, like, if you do it wrong and you get into the last battle, there's a chance that you'll never beat the last battle.
Oh.
Because there's, like, major categories. So, like, your health, your magic, your finesse, your strength. It's like strength, stamina. I don't remember exactly what they're called, but they're main statistics, right? So each main statistic plays a role in what class you are. So if you're finesse, you want to raise your finesse higher because then your bow and arrow or your backslash will be higher. If you're single-handed or dual-handed swords, you want to be strength. If you're magic, you want to be intelligent, right?
You want to build your class to its most true and powerful form.
Yes, and then so I was doing that, but then what I realized was I wasn't focusing on something called wits. So wits is every time you level up or you can read a book and you can get a new skill.
Mm-hmm.
And the skills have to fit in their slots. And you only have a certain amount of slots. But if you increase your wits, your slots increase.
Oh, that's huge.
So you can have a lot more slots. So I never focused on that because that plays into then your class. So then you have your class statistics, which again is single-handed, double-handed, ranged, there was a bunch of
backslash.
Them, right?
You said backslash.
No, backslash was finesse. That was for like a rogue character, right? So, So there's that, and then on the same page, it's like, are you proficient in fire? Are you proficient in water? Are you proficient in air? Are you proficient in earth? Summoning, pyro. What's the other one? Healing? Right? There was a bunch of them. So if you do that all wrong, you can have a team that is only proficient in fire, and then you go against a water character, and you're screwed.
Right. So you need to be proficient in pretty much all the skills.
Understanding who is what.
Oh my god.
And how each of their stats plays into that role. So, like a rogue character doesn't have as many learnable skills as other characters. So, like, I had a rogue character who was awesome, but what I didn't realize is that I kind of ran out of skills for him to use. I wanted to make him like a single proficient in one thing and just be really good at it.
Right.
But what I realized is I probably should have made him like proficient in that and pyrotechnics, because he had if I would have leveled him up more, he could have been proficient in both, because there's so many books to learn.
Right.
Like, I did a really bad job at that. Like, my ranged character was just ranged attacks. Versus I could have had a whole plethora of things. So,
but is there a limit to how high skills can go?
No.
You just need to find books?
So they just don't tell you when you fuck up. So, like, you could just put points in one thing forever, and they'll never be like, oh, you maxed out time.
How do you feel about that, though? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I like it because you can make your person, like, really overpowered in one thing. Right? So, like, I could be really good with a bow and arrow. The problem is, if somebody has really high physical armor and really low magic armor, I'm kind of screwed. Because I could have depleted its magic armor with magic. Eat arrows. And then, so that's just your skills. And then when you're looking at your inventory, all of the inventory have multiple stats and have multiple effects. So you have your physical armor, you have your magical armor. There are some armor sets that are heavily weighted on physical. There are some that are heavily weighted on magic, and then there are some that are evenly dispersed. Right. So, again, how do you want to build your character? And then on top of that, when you get into the end game, they start having, like, really high magic, really low physical armor, but it will increase your initiative by 2 points, it'll increase your scoundrel by a point, and it'll increase your ranged by a point. So then you have to play with armor in that way, because that'll affect your character even more.
It's just better overall.
And then, dude, okay, so this will be.
I struggle with that kind of stuff because especially in Skyrim, if there was a magical set of magical piece of armor or a weapon, first of all, you need to improve a skill in order to improve that armor. So if it's not up to snuff at your current level, you can't use it, or you can, but you'll get fucking roasted.
So in this game,
I would always use the non-magical shit. And just go with physical damage.
It happened to me all the time, and it screwed me all of the time, which I don't like to keep a lot of stuff in my inventory, right? So I will put new armor on, and then sell all my old armor immediately. Right? So, like, I kind of screw myself.
Seems problematic in this game.
Because what happens is if, like, you have... Everything has, like, a breaking point. Like, if you don't have strength level 14, you can't put this on. You need to have a certain stat level to use the armor. Right. So I'd have, like, an amulet on where it gave me +1 strength. But then a new amulet would just have better stats. Mm-hmm. Like, it would be, like, 50 magic armor versus 300 magic armor. And I'm like, oh my god, this one's so much better. Let's put this on. But then not realizing that it's going to lower my strength stat by 1... and all of my armor requires a certain strength, so you put the new amulet on, and then all of your other gear gets taken off your body, because you no longer have the stats to do it.
So you should have kept that last armor in this eventuality. You should have seen the future.
About maintaining your character build.
Gotcha. Wow.
Like, that's
for all your characters.
For all of your characters. So you have
and if you get an amulet, you only have one amulet for your 4 characters if you have a full party.
It's 1 helmet, 1 torso, 1 hands, 1 legs, 1 feet, 1 amulet, 2 rings.
Okay. Per person.
Per person.
And it only affects that person, unless it's like, your entire party. That probably doesn't exist,
it was
right?
it was all per person. And you have complete and utter control over everybody in your party. So they have, like, base stats, but you can level them up from whenever they join the party to whatever you want.
Gotcha.
So they don't level up on their own. So you're in charge of all of that.
There's so much to this game.
Like crazy, dude. So that's getting kind of into the weeds of things, right? So awesome. That, to me, is an amazing part of the game. But you have to be willing to learn, because if you're not used to that type of game, like, at first I literally didn't have companions in my party because I didn't want to deal with that. Like, that's a lot to deal with. I was like,
they could be a pain in the ass.
I'm going to do 1 companion and that's it. And I'll deal with him. And then the rest I'll just like, but you can't. And by the way, I'm not even on the hardest difficulty. I'm on difficulty normal.
Right.
And there's 2 difficulty levels above that. Right. So, like, I don't even know how people play on those. And
I'm sure that guy who soloed it did it on the hardest difficulty, didn't he?
He had, dude, his skill bar was like, I haven't seen 3/4 of the things that he has available. And I don't even know where I don't know where he got them. I don't know where he found them. I don't know if he bought them.
So this is like his 20th playthrough.
You're broke for most of the fucking game until the end, where you can buy whatever you want. I was like, probably until I was 50% through the game, I had no money to buy anything.
Right. So what, you just had to find stuff? You found all the stuff you got?
Yep.
Jesus.
And that was it. So that, I would say, is definitely tedious. Again, rewarding when you figure it out, because it really shows in the gameplay how you built your character. Like, if you do it right, it really shows, and it's really important. Now, as I mentioned, the story was really good. I don't really want to talk about the story because I know the game came out in 2017, but, like, if you haven't
but if anyone's listening and they haven't played,
and you're like, oh shit, I've never played a game like that, like, I might as well.
I think you've said a good amount of the story that doesn't give anything away. I had the whole time you were playing it and you'd be talking, I was like, I don't even know what this game looks like.
Yeah. I guess the graphics are nothing to write home about again. It plays its purpose. I think it plays The graphics are perfect for the type of game it is. It doesn't need to be any better than what it is. And I'm a graphics nerd. Like
I know, that's what surprised me.
Yeah.
Because you were like, yeah, the graphics are nothing to write home about. And I was like, what? And you're playing it?
I think I'm becoming more or less of a graphics nerd because every game that comes out, aka The Last of Us Part 1, is a fucking nightmare when it first comes out.
Oh, so that's factoring in now for you?
Yeah, I think...
if a game has amazing graphics, but it plays like shit when it first comes out, you're not about that anymore?
I'm starting to understand what Matt's talking about when he plays these indie games. Where sometimes games are just more fun. They're just more fun, and they're more strategic, and you can really find a niche for yourself in a certain type of game, and graphics doesn't matter. This is the first time a game has proven that to me.
Yeah, that's wild.
So then at the end of the game, right, so you make it through all of this, you learn 8 million bits of information. You get to the end, and there's a decision to be made. And you very bluntly have to make that decision. I mean, there's no build-up to it. The build-up was the whole game. You come to the last fight, the fight's over, and they're like, all right, what do you want to do?
Ooh.
And that's it. And then you make your decision, and then you were like, oh, God, the game's over. Like, oh, thank God I went through it. No, because then it details out to you every single major character that you came across and how your decision affected them and what their life looked like after that decision. It not only did that for the characters, it did that for the cities, it did that for the worlds, it did that for the whole world in general, and it tells you about how your story completely changed civilization from the time that you made that decision onwards.
Wow. I like that.
Yeah. Like, so just kept going on and on and on. And I was like, oh my God. So I decided...
A lot of analytics.
Yeah, I decided to spread source out to the people.
Right.
So not to really have...
Rather than give it back to the gods.
Well, you become the god.
Oh, shit.
Right? You are the god woken. Spoiler alert. It's not really a spoiler because you figure that out pretty early on. But
yeah,
like the game kind of plays itself to knowing you're going to become a god, right? So do you want to keep it in your circle of gods? You're the god of gods. So do you want to keep it in your circle of gods, or do you want to give it back out to the people? And I gave it back out to the people, and it was like, this person died because of that decision. This person thrived. The city was in a golden age, but then people got... they used the source to their advantage and like burned the city to the ground, and like it was crazy. And I thought it was very well thought out. It was awesome. Like, if you play this game and you beat this game, do not skip that part, because it really tells you, like, based on the decisions you made through the game, kind of what it does from there.
That is so cool, dude.
But overall, I mean, it is a 10 out of 10 game. I can't stress enough how much this game has was not only amazing, but completely and utterly changed my view on these types of RPG turn-based games.
Yeah. I'm still extremely confused about why this took you
so long to find.
No. So it took you so wholly. The game grabbed you by the hair and wouldn't let you go.
I don't know. I think it's like I was playing really hard into my nerd. Like, I really like to play D&D, and I don't get the opportunity to play D&D a lot. And it really allowed me to like kind of play into that. And I think that I just found out that that's like a whole genre of games. Not that RPG is a genre of game, because we knew that, but like these hardcore RPGs are a thing.
Yeah.
And we rarely get into them because they're hardcore. You gotta like be ready.
Right. But it's not just like a COD where you could throw it on and just fucking zone out.
I always thought Dragon Age was an RPG, and it's like, it is, but like this is a whole new level. This is what I feel like RPGs are supposed to be.
Sweet. Well,
So,
I'm happy you found this genre. Whatever
now
the fuck it's called.
I'm playing Wasteland 3 right now, which is the same genre of game.
Right.
I now want to play XCOM 2, which is that same genre of game.
That's what we were talking about this the other night, and
Yeah.
we couldn't think of the name of the game.
And then, so I never mentioned what company this was, but this is a company called Larian Studios. Let me just make sure it's studios and not company. I believe it's Larian Studios, and they have made
Yeah, it is.
a bunch of these games, and they're actually coming out with one called Baldur's Gate 3. So it's in early access right now. It's coming out in August, but they just said that there's going to be 3 acts in that game, and the early access only shows you 1 act, and it's 35 to 60 hours.
Holy shit. So that seems like that might be even more intense. Well, it better be.
This is like their new improved game. Like they seem to. I've done a lot of research on the company, just seeing like Divinity 1 was really good, and then they stepped their shit up for Divinity 2. Baldur's Gate apparently is their game. Like Divinity is not even their golden child.
That's their Starfield.
Yeah, the Baldur's Gate
their
is
home run swing.
That's their home run right there. I mean, there was supposed to be a original Divinity Sins 3. It was going to be called something else, and they scrapped it to make Baldur's Gate 3.
Okay.
So, like, it's supposed to be.
And cool. Same genre? Do they only make games in this genre?
I believe so. My Steam is, let's see, Divinity, Larian Studios. Yeah, so they made Baldur's Gate 3, Divinity Original Sin 1, Beyond Divinity, which is like the same thing. So yeah, they're very much, I guess, like the D&D style RPG. But this Baldur's Gate 3 is supposed to be like the bee's knees. So I'm really excited for that.
And that plus comes out in August, you said? August release?
August 28th, I think, I want to say.
Nice.
I'm not even going to play the early access because I'm not even going to. I don't want to get myself type up for something that I have enough games that I want to play in between.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But honestly, man, I actually really enjoy doing this review. I think when you're really into a game like this, we don't really do a lot of reviews, but I feel like reviews sometimes are what's new, what's out. You know, like what's the new game. And it's like, sometimes I want to hear a new review of somebody that played a game like now that came out before.
Really passionate about it.
Like, if you're on Steam and you're like, oh my god, I have Divinity Original Sin 2, you're going to try to find a review. It's going to come out in 2017. Like, a lot has changed since 2017. So I think sometimes it's nice to have a review. But I had a lot of fun talking about the game. I think you could tell I was a little passionate about it. So
for sure.
I think that we're going to take this time we talked about to have our interviews and our reviews to come out on Wednesdays. And then I think that Battle Royale series that we just started, that's what we're going to really take hold on Mondays. So everybody look forward to that. I guess we'll end it with Patty plugs.
Yeah, follow us on... Yeah. Damn, I have to stop talking and let Pat talk?
No more Divinity. Divinity's officially over in our world.
Follow us on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube at Dfr3ak and Geeks, 3 replacing the E in Dfr3ak. If you are a streamer, content creator, big-time video game guy or gal or they, hit us up. We'd love to talk to you. We absolutely love video games. We love talking to people. Doesn't matter who you are. Fucking talk to us.
Yo, I just found there's a whole section of Steam on games like this that are Dungeons and Dragons style.
Ooh.
And they have whole collections.
This game seems like it would have a following similar to Dungeons and Dragons.
Yo, I've always told you we need to get into Dungeons and Dragons. You have no fucking idea what you're missing. It is the most fun if you have a good Dungeons Master, it is the most fun I've ever had.
Well, that's
playing a game.
That's the thing. You need a dungeon master who knows the lore and every backstory. And
you don't, because you can make your own shit up. That's the whole. That's the fun. That's the fun of it.
That is true. It's video game improv, and I'm a big fan of improv.
That's all it is. The dungeon master doesn't have to be good; they have to be nimble. Because if I'm the dungeon master and you and Matt decide that fuck your story, I want to go off into the woods, like I got,
you have to come up with you gotta, or a reason why we can't do that.
And then
we can't get to the end of the campaign, and then you're like, wait a minute, you weren't supposed to go into the woods because you couldn't leave the dungeon until you figured out the puzzle.
And what's crazy, and this will be the last thing, now we're going on like a whole nother tangent.
Yeah, this is a rant.
Yeah, this is random. What's really crazy is like, you'll be in a bar, right? And you'll be like, you're tasked with talking to the bartender about like getting your new quest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like a normal everyday D&D player will be like, I want to roll a perception check. Which means like, I want to perceive kind of what's going on in this bar before I talk to the bartender. And if you roll high enough and I approve the perception check, which means I have to have checks and balances in place that if you roll high enough, you see something.
Yeah, if there's a hidden enemy, it has to get revealed by the dungeon master.
Or an investigation check. Like, oh, on your way to talking to the bartender, you find a key on the floor, you pick it up.
Right.
So it's like crazy shit like that. But we'll get more into Dungeons and Dragons a little later. But
maybe we'll do a fun kind of side thing with that. Who knows?
I would love
maybe.
That. I would love that.
That would take a lot of work, but
yeah,
who cares? It's fun.
All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll talk to you on Monday. See you
later.